Welcome to the Learn to Sew Academy channel. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you.
Today we're going to be making a circle top, a flat top with cold shoulders. We're going to be using a shoulder of 15, a bust of 32, our blouse length is 24, our sleeve length is 8, and our sleeve length is 10. And we're just going to make a shape at the bottom of a circle. Now because we're going to be folding fabric, when we cut it, we're going to be cutting on the fold. We're going to divide the shoulder into two. So that's why we got 7.5, and we're going to add a seam allowance, which is the 0.5 that you see here. So our total for the shoulder is going to be 8. Now the bust, because it's always a circumference that you measure for bust, we did divided by 4, which gave us 8, plus the 0.5, which gave us 8.5. Now I want to mention that because this is a free top, we're not going to make the bust an exact 32 because it's going to flare all the way down. So this will usually be freer depending on what the person prefers, but this is going to be freer than the exact 32. But we're using this 32 just as a guide because you want to make sure that what you have is enough to cover the bust of the person you're making the top for. You don't want to cut it smaller than what the bust should be. So this is just serving as a guide. That's why we just want to know what the bust is, just to guide you. So that's what we'll be doing in this tutorial. Another way you can have the cold shoulder is to have it straight. Just going to show you real quick. That's another option. You can decide to just have it like just straight. Like you can also have one that just drops way more. That's something else you can have. So there are different ways you can do a cold shoulder. You just want to have the concept and know how to do it. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm making a triangle like this. So I formed this. I just want it to be a triangle. If I wanted it to be wider, I just have to slant it some more and make my triangle wider. But if you want it even less than this, you just cut it less. You just fold it a little, not as wide. The back and the front, I'm gonna cut them separate only because I'm trying to manipulate this fabric so that I have this orange in the middle. So what I want to do is, I know that the shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 with the allowance is 8 inches. So I want to find a range here that will cover enough for the shoulder. This is going to have a sleeve. So what I have here, right here is this is like 8.5. So I'm just going to use this. So you just want to do a straight line right there at that point. So this is going to be my starting point for measuring. So I know the length I need is 24, and I'm adding 1 inch for the bottom of the blouse because I'm going to fold it in twice. So that will be 1 inch, and then I'm going to have half an inch at the top for joining the shoulders. So that gives me 25.5. I'm just going to measure that to make sure I have enough, and I do have enough. So I just want to mark that. So you go from this particular point, 25.5, all the way across. Once you do the marking, you now connect the lines I'm just gonna cut out this part so I have less fabric to work with. You're just gonna go and cut it out based on the markings you made on the fabric. Now I have less fabric to work with. So now I'm just going to mark what my shoulder should be, which we determined to be 8 inches. Then from the shoulder point down, we want to do 8 inches. This is where my armhole will curve to. Now, one thing I also want to mention is when you're folding your fabric to form this triangle, you want to make sure that what you have here is way bigger, you know, as much bigger as you want it to be than your bust measurement, because you don't want a situation where you fold your triangle and at the end of it you discover that it was too small and it becomes tight. This is supposed to be a free top, so that is what I just wanted to mention. So you have to see, like mine is 32, which we when we divided by 4 and added a seam allowance is actually like 8.5, but because it's a free top, is not fitted, I have around 12.25 here, which is just perfect for me. So now what you want to do is to connect the shoulder area to the sleeve length area. So just do like a curve, and then we work on the neckline too. And the neckline is dependent on what you actually want to do, how wide and how deep you want it to be. So in this case, I'm gonna make it 3.5 inches deep, and I'll do 4 inches wide. And then you connect the two together. Depending on the shape you want. If you want to use shape, you may want to come down some more, but this is what I want. And then for the shoulder area, there will be a slant, like 1/2 inch. You can do 1, but I'm comfortable with 1/2 inch. So I just do 1/2 inch slant from the shoulder. And now we cut this out. Okay. The one other thing in this particular style, I want it to shape out like this. I want it to form a V at the back. So for the middle, it will be my complete 24 inches. Then the sides will be maybe 2 or 3 inches less. So that's what I'm gonna shape out of this now. So I'm just gonna measure 3 inches here. And I'm gonna just do a straight line to the end of the middle, the center of the blouse of my top. So I'm just gonna do a slant all the way there. This is what I've chosen to do. You can also decide that you want to curve it. I want it to curve, but I wanted to do this straight slant for this particular style. So that's the thing with sewing. You can always make it yours and do whatever you want to do with it. So this is what I have for the top. Now I'm gonna make one more of this because I need the front and the back. I'll just make one more exactly like this. I'm not gonna be remeasuring. I'm just going to do my triangle again, place this first one on it, and form another top, cut out the top. But again, I want the brown, the orange part of this to be in the center. So I'm gonna work on this other end just so I can have what I want to get from this fabric. Have them cut now. So what I'm gonna do now, I can either do a facing for the neckline, or I can use a bias tape to turn it over. Those are the options. Or you can also just turn it in like twice, turn it in twice after you sew the shoulders. So those are the options we have, but in this case I'm going to be doing a facing. So with a facing, what you just want to do is you just want to take some part of your fabric, like you fold it into two, you place your blouse on it, and you trace out the neckline. So that's just what I'm doing here. Make sure that your center aligns with the center of the fabric you're using for your facing. So make sure they align well. Now the center align, just trace this neckline. Trace out your neckline. And when you trace it out by the shoulder, depending on how much you want on the shoulder, it doesn't have to be all the way to the end of the shoulder. Just trace it. What I'm going to do with this shoulder, because it's going to be a cold sleeve, I'm going to leave part of this, and I'm going to turn part of this upper part of the sleeve. I'm going to turn it in later, or I can use a bias tape later. I could also have made a facing that will cover it all the way here, but because of this fabric, the way it is very light, you know, you'll see through it. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to trace this out and cut my facing. So I'll be making two of this. So I just make one more. Just place it on another part of the fabric and just cut that out. can trace it out too if that's easier. And I have my facing for the front and the back. Now I'm gonna show you how to cut the cold shoulder sleeves now. So we'll first start by cutting a regular sleeve, and then I'll proceed from there to demonstrate how we'll cut the cold shoulder sleeve. So the first thing I've done here is fold into two, and then want to make sure this is folded into two. Then want to make sure that what I have here is enough for my sleeve round. We're working with a sleeve round of 10 inches and a sleeve length of 8 inches. So over here I have 14 and a half. So this is enough for me, because by the time we do our 10-inch of sleeve round, we're going to still slant it upward. So I need something more than 10 inches at the base of my sleeve, which is my sleeve round. So I'm cutting two sleeves together. So I'm folding again to have 4 layers of fabric. Now I'm going to measure out my length, the length of the sleeve. I have 8 inches for the length, so I'm going to add half an inch on the top for the joining. That's the way we'll normally cut it. So half an inch on the top, and then at the bottom I'm going to be doing 1.5 inches, because I want to fold it in by 1 inch. Then the extra half inch is what I'll use to turn it in. So that's an extra 2 inches altogether. 1.5 at the bottom, half at the top. So plus my 8, that'll be 10 inches. So I just want to measure 10 inches here for the length. I'll join this real quick and cut out this piece of fabric and just work with this alone. So now I'm going to measure for this is where my complete fold is. Here we still have some opening. So this will be the center of the sleeve. Where we don't have an opening is the center of the sleeve. So I'm going to start by measuring for the, I'm going to measure the sleeve round right now. I'm measuring from the center. My sleeve round is again 10 inches. When we divide that by 2, we'll get 5 inches, and then we'll put a seam allowance of 0.5. So I'm having 5.5 inches here. Now remember that I left 1.5 inch over here, so that's quite some length. So I may want to fold this at the base like this, my 1.5 inch. I can do that. I can fold it, or I can leave it open and just measure my 1.5 inch here. But it's better I fold, so I'm going to fold it here. This is my 1.5 inch. I'm just going to hold it real quick. This because this is much, if I were just doing 1 inch, I may just leave it and cut it like that. But I'll fold this because this is wide. My turning is wider. So I'm going to look for my 5.5 inches right here. And then I'm going to be checking what my armhole is over here. We have here like a total of 9 inches, But remember, we're going to be joining it by 1/2 inch at the shoulder and 1/2 inch over here. So altogether we're going to have like 8 inches here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be measuring my armhole. I need about the same 8.5 inches over here on the top here to cuff out my armhole. Over here, like I explained, we have 8 inches left, but we're gonna leave 1/2 inch on my sleeve too, so I can join it to the body of the blouse. So that is how, again, I'm cutting it the way we would normally cut a regular sleeve before I now show you the cold shoulder. So this is about 8.5 right there. This is like the half of that, 4.25. So you want to cuff your sleeve in a way that is almost like an inverted S, like that. You can also use French curves if you have some. You can use a French curve to help you if you want to, you know, like something like that. Then if you want to, but I'm just used to doing freehand most times. So we now connect this point, the armhole, the sleeve round. We now connect it to the end of the sleeve. That's what we're doing now. And then we can cut out this sleeve. So if you were making a top that you just needed a regular sleeve, this is what you will do right there. But in this case, because we're doing the cold shoulder, I'm gonna use this to just explain, so you can reason along as we do this. Normally, this is what we would have for our sleeve if we're doing a regular sleeve. I hope you can see this. If we were doing a regular sleeve, this is what we would do. This is how I would have it. But in this case, we want to have a cold shoulder sleeve, meaning that we want to open some part of our sleeves so that the upper part of your arm, just by your shoulder, the upper part of the arm will show over here. So that's what we want to do. So it depends on how low or how open you want it. You know, if you want it to be low, you cut it low. Otherwise, you just keep it simple and you just show a little. You can also decide to just do a straight one like I showed in the diagram. But in this case, I'm going to just leave a little. I don't want it too open. So what I'm going to be doing is, over here, I'm going to be measuring like 3.5. And this way, I'm going to do a 3 because I don't want it too open. So I just do a 3 over here. And then I just want to join those two together with just a little curve. That's what I'm doing here. And then I cut that out. Now by the time I sew it, I'm gonna end up with something like this. So this is what I'm gonna be having for my sleeve. I'm gonna have this opening for my sleeve. So this is what I'm gonna be having. And then when I start to sew it, over here at this edge, we need to finish it up in a way that is going to be neat. So what we're going to do is I can either use a bias tape to turn this part in, okay, or I could use a lining, but I don't want to do a lining, so I'll just use a bias tape to turn this part in. And then for my shoulder, because some part of the shoulder is going to be open too, that part too will need to be finished off nicely, neatly. So what I'm going to do with this part that will be open after I've joined the sleeve, I can either turn it in and sew it in, or I can also use a bias tape to turn this in. So those are the options that we can do with that. If you wanted your sleeve here, the opening, to drop some more, you can just cut it some more, you know, depending on how much you want it. You can come down and cut it some more, or if you wanted to do it just, if you wanted it to be just straight, you can just come here and just do it just straight across, just do a straight line across to get it. So that's how you do your coat. I just wanted to point out quickly that the reason why I folded this part is that by the time I start to sew it and I turn it in, because again it's quite wide, it's not like the regular 1 inch that we just do double. That's why I decided to cut it the way I did. So by the time we fold it in, you can see that it's gonna tally with the edges of the sleeve over here on the sides. So that was the reason why I folded it when I was going to cut it. You'll notice that I first folded this side up before cutting it. So that was why I did that. I just wanted to explain that. Watch out for the concluding part of this tutorial, and please click the bell icon to get notified. I'll also leave a link in the description below and on this video.